It begins with a simple image, a small hand, no bigger than a rugby ball. A rocket, that's her name, a little red laying hen who lived through the hell of industrial farming. At just 4 months old, she was exploited, forced to lay eggs day and night under artificial lights. For a full year, her body produced without stopping, and when she and the others were no longer profitable, they were sent to slaughter. But in recent years, a few organizations have begun rescuing hens like her. Instead of letting them end up in the slaughter trucks, they place them with families who give them a quiet retirement, a life of gentleness and freedom. That's how Roquette was adopted. Roxane went to get her from a farm, along with 2 others, Riquette and Roussette. She set them up in a large garden with a raised wooden coop that closed automatically at night to keep them safe. A small paradise. And every morning, when Roxane arrived with wheat, corn and fresh greens, Roquette would sleep between her boots. She would press herself against her legs, trembling. So Roxane would lift her gently into her arms and rub her nose against those damaged feathers, thin and broken by intensive farming. You could see the bare skin underneath, her body still carved, the marks of hell. And yet, Roquette stayed close to the one who saved her. She had found trust, gratitude, love. Because hens are sensitive beings. They recognize the human they trust, and they love being held when they know the hand comes from kindness. Her heart beat so fast you could swear it might burst, and yet, for the first time, she wasn't a part in chain of death. She wasn't a number on a tag. She wasn't a raw material. She was simply alive. It may seem like a small detail, but it isn't, because in her frightened eyes, you glimpse the entire system behind her, an industrial system that turns living, feeling beings into consumable products. A system hiding behind nuggets, $2 sandwiches, XXL menus flashing across the neon screens of our cities. Fast food, a word we say lightly, as if it were just a harmless, guilty pleasure. But behind that pleasure, there are creatures suffering, living through hell, and no one tells you that when you bite into your burger. The first victim of fast food is you, your body. And this isn't about gaining a few pounds. No, it's about a food system built to break your defenses, make you dependent, and turn your stomach into conqueror territory. Every fry, every soda, every crunchy bite is engineered to hit what the industry calls the bliss point, that exact spot where fat, salt, and sugar strike your tongue at the same time and trick your brain. A perfect cocktail for addiction. And it's not me saying that, the numbers speak for themselves. In France, more than 50% of daily food intake now comes from ultra-processed foods. Every year, 11 million deaths worldwide are directly linked to poor diets. That's 4 million more than tobacco. Regular fast food consumption increases obesity risk by 51% and type 2 diabetes risk by 29%. In the US, one study showed that eating fast food more than twice a week doubles the risk of cardiovascular mortality. Fast food enthusiasts live on average 10 years less than those who avoid it. In a French study, researchers estimated that we ingest around 4 kilos of food additives per year. 4 kilos. Imagine placing that on a table. A mountain of powders, preservatives, colorants, texturizer you swallow without even realizing it. And then there's a cruel paradox. You think you're feeding yourself, but in truth, you're starving, because these ultra-processed foods trigger hunger. They don't calm it. They push you to eat more, then more again. Fast food doesn't nourish you, it sustains a permanent void. And of course, some will tell you, it's fine as long as you eat healthy the rest of the time, you can indulge once in a while. No, it will be a lie to tell you that, because every menu, every sandwich creates a small crack inside you. Crack in your arteries, in your liver, in your heart. Invisible, but irreversible. And the problem is that these cracks don't stop at your body. They spread, they spill over into everything around us. An entire generation is paying the price. Childhood obesity has increased tenfold in 40 years in some Western countries. 1 in 3 children in North America is already overweight or obese. And 10 years old are now developing disease, unseen only in people over 50. Diabetes, fatty liver, high blood pressure. You think you are eating a cheap meal. In reality, you are signing a toxic loan with your own body. And the bill always comes due. Fast food does not feed you, it erodes you from the inside. Forget the image of a simple cheap burger. Let us call it what it is. What comes out of a fast food bag is not a sloppy recipe. It is a chemical machine designed to shape you and wear you down. Take the oils, fries, nuggets. Everything is soaked in refined seed oils, such as canola or sunflower, sometimes reused blends. When these oils reach high temperature, their unsaturated fats oxidize. They turn to aldehydes, toxic molecules. Aldehydes attack proteins, cell membranes, DNA. They are linked to chronic inflammation, heart disease, liver dysfunction, and, according to growing research, neurodegenerative conditions such as Parkinson and Alzheimer's. In plain terms, we are dipping food into tiny chemical bombs and putting them straight into people's mouths. Then come the AGEs, advanced glycation end products. Toxins form when starches and sugars meet extreme heat. The results: industrial chain fries contain up to 20 times more AGEs than a potato roasted at home. These compounds heighten oxidative stress and systemic inflammation, leading to insulin resistance, vascular damage, accelerated aging. You're not just eating calories, you are injecting age into your body. Even the pickle, the one pretending to offer a hint of freshness, plays its part in the disaster. Emulsifiers and additives found in these condiments are anything but neutral. They disrupt the gut microbiome, and the disrupted macrobiome means chronic inflammation setting in, metabolic responses going haywire, and the perfect breeding ground for disease. The most grotesque blow is the batter on McNuggets. On the label, aluminum salts, aluminum phosphate, and sodium phosphate appear as texture and preserving agents. Aluminum is not harmless. French epidemiological studies have linked it, even at very low doses, to an increased risk of cognitive decline and dementia. A single box of nuggets can expose you to up to 2.8 milligrams of aluminum, more than 10 times the amount associated with neurological effects in those studies. We are playing with human memory as if it were a disposable variable, and the oil itself is stabilized with TBHQ, terbutyrhydroquinone, a synthetic antioxidant used to extend the life of reused oils. In laboratory animals, TBHQ causes cell necrosis, DNA damage, and promotes tumor formation. It is not an abstract hypothesis. These are biological signs that industrial food can damage the very viability of human cells. Desserts, caramel frappe, McFlurries, 70 grams of sugar in a single serving. 70 grams! The equivalent of an entire cake, but liquid swallowed in a few sips with almost immediate absorption. A Swedish study has already shown that even a small increase in added sugars correlates with a major rise in all-cause mortality. Fructose in particular hits the liver faster than glucose. It accelerates fatty liver disease, insulin resistance, and systemic inflammation. You are not consuming pleasure, you are feeding a chemical dependency that takes control of your body. Bacon, sausages. Here it's not just the fat. These are processed meats, rich in nitrites, classified as carcinogens, just like other known agents. Studies show increased all-cause mortality among regular consumers of processed meats. Combined with the other toxins in a typical menu, these meats become biological detonators: inflammation, mutations, digestive cancers. And then there is the so-called cheese, which has almost nothing to do with real cheese, often perceived as harmless. It carries its own burden: saturated fats, additives, compounds that, layered on top of the rest of the menu, combine to a pro-carcinogenic cocktail. Science offers a chilling echo. These products were designed to be loved, engineered to activate pleasure circuits, while simultaneously triggering physiological mechanisms of degeneration. They do not need to be delicious to be legitimate. They were optimized for profits, not for life. When you do not see these numbers, you think, once in a while, why not? But evidence shows that once becomes twice, twice becomes habit, and habit corrodes the body. Handling these ingredients with a science in mind is unsettling, and marketing them to children with mascots, shows, toys is morally criminal. It encourages dependence from the earliest age. So no, fast food is not neutral. It is not a matter of just personal choices. It is an industry that, through the chemical nature of its products, manufactures disease. This is not an accident. Fast food took root in our lives because it is backed by an army of economic interests. Groups that shape our plates far more than we do ourselves. Giants that pour billions into flooding the markets, buying our desires, subsidizing our addiction. Look at the numbers. McDonald's serves 69 million customers every day in more than 100 countries. That is the entire population of France swallowed up daily under its golden arches. The 5 largest fast food chains in the world generate a combined revenue of over $400 billion per year. It is slightly more than the GDP of Norway or Ireland. In advertising alone, McDonald's spends more than $3 billion per year. That is more than the annual World Health Organization budget for combating certain disease. Fast food giants do not sell meals, they buy minds. From childhood onwards, the clowns, the toys, the bright ads, the influencers, everything is designed to hook you early and never let go. In the US, even taxes, meaning taxpayer money, help fuel this industry. $700 billion in subsidies are funneled into corn, soy, and wheat, raw materials that are transformed, recombined, and reassembled into burgers, nuggets, and sodas. Meanwhile, vegetables, fruits, and fresh produce receive only scraps in comparison. Organic farming is a neglected relative, help only at the margins. In other words, it is not just your personal choices pushing you toward fast food, it is an economic structure that favors junk food, that makes a burger cheaper than salad, soda cheaper than water. They subsidize junk food, they engineer our downfall, and the government, it is complicit. It will do nothing to forbid these enterprises of horror. And what if I told you this system does not stop at your arteries, that behind every menu, an invisible slaughterhouse runs without interruption, a coordinated carnage, because the real horror is not only inside your bloodstream, it screams every second inside the abattoir. Every year, billions of animals pass through these factories of death. And you know what? We do not even call them animals, we call them batches, carcasses, raw materials, cows packed into windowless hungers, chicken raised by the thousands, their bones twisted, unable to stand because their growth is so artificially accelerated. Pigs that have never seen sunlight, trapped on cold concrete until the last breath. The numbers are staggering. Worldwide, more than 70 billion land animals are slaughtered every year for human consumption, nearly 10 times the human population. In France alone, 3 million animals are killed every day in slaughterhouses. Broiled chickens, genetically selected, reach slaughter weights in 35 days instead of the natural 90. Their bones snap under their own weight. In 80% of pig farms, density exceeds 20 pigs per 10 square meters, without ever seeing daylight. When the line starts moving, everything is calibrated to the millimeter. An electric prod, a hook, a cut, and even when the cow is still conscious, even when the calf inside her is still alive, the line keeps going. There is no time, because fast food must run, because your meal cannot wait. And behind your favorite bacon, the crispy bacon that perfumes burgers, is the concentrated hell of an invisible industry. Behind every slice lies a pork sector, millions of animals reduced to numbers, packed into hangars where sunlight never enters. From the moment they're born, piglets endure the unthinkable. Their tails are cut, their teeth are filled, they are castrated without anesthesia. Sows spend most of their lives in cages so narrow they cannot even turn around. They give birth wedged between metal bars, unable to move, unable to protect their young. Then comes the slaughterhouse. In France, the law forbids a farmer from slaughtering his own animal for sale. Even if he fed and cared for it all its life, he must load it onto a truck and send it to a faceless factory where it will be killed on a conveyor belt. The trip, that stress, that industrial system, this is where suffering explodes. Maurizio Pereira, a former slaughterhouse employee, recounts. The animals are terrified. We push them, we hit them to make them move. Some slip and break their legs, we electrocute them, we bleed them, but often the line goes too fast. Animals are still conscious when they are hungry, and they are cut. I have seen looks that never left me. And then there is the other horror, the nightmare he cannot forget. Every day, 20, sometimes 30 placentas, fully formed calves with hooves and hair, sometimes viable, taken from pregnant cows. When the cow is killed, the calf stays alive for 20 minutes, sometimes half an hour, suffocating inside its mother. You see the corpse hanging from the hook, moving in every direction because the calf inside is suffocating and trying to escape. Then, he asks a chilling question.
You count sheep to sleep? Know what I count?
Behind a simple bacon burger, we see the reality: mutilated cows, imprisoned souls, chicks ground alive, trucks filled with panicked animals, slaughterhouses where life is extinguished by the thousands every hour. Chickens, pigs, calves, cows, they all pass through the same machinery of death. And meanwhile, on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, some smiling to the camera. They film themselves swallowing burgers by the dozen, stacking nuggets, chugging sodas. They call it challenges, mukbangs, fun stuff for followers. But what exactly are they celebrating? They are celebrating the enslavement of invisible animals. They're celebrating the cancers and heart attacks of tomorrow. They're celebrating the destruction of entire ecosystem for a few views and a few likes. The numbers reveal the absurdity of its glorification. A challenge portion of 10 burgers equals more than 9,000 calories, more than 4 times the recommended daily intake for an adult. A viral video featuring 100 nuggets represents the killing of roughly 5 chickens for a single online performance. These influencer videos can reach millions of views, yet they normalize a level of overconsumption that in reality kills more than 11 million people every year worldwide. These influencers are complicit. They turn suffering into entertainment, and we, as spectators, laugh in front of a feast that is really a graveyard. The fast food does not feed only on animals, it feeds on entire fields, entire continents, turned into production zones. Soy, corn, wheat, palm oil, 4 crops that blanket the planet, pushed forward by pesticides, irrigation, GMOs. They do not feed the world, they feed nuggets factories and intensive livestock farms. And here the numbers make the ground tremble. 80% of global soy is destined for livestock feed, not humans. Nearly 90% of deforestation is linked to livestock farming and the crops required to sustain it. Producing a single burger requires an average of 2,400 liters of water, from agriculture to animal feed to processing. The carbon footprint for a full fast food meal, burger, fries, soda included, can exceed 5 kilograms of CO2, the equivalent of a 25 miles car trip. And do you know how much water is needed to produce a single liter of soda? Dozens of liters, sometimes more than 100 if you trace the entire agricultural chain. We drink a sugary sip, but behind it are emptied aquifers, diverted rivers, dried out fields. Industrial agriculture is a monoculture of death. It erases diversity, it kills soils, insects, forests, and it reduces humanity to a single taste, the artificial taste of salt, fat, and sugar. Think about this. Every fast food meal is like a crack in the earth, a crack that releases an invisible poison, greenhouse gases, deforestation, plastic waste. We hear about climate change, but who dare says that our cheap menus are really disguised coal? Who dare says that our nuggets are coated in invisible oil? The evidence is clear. Intensive livestock farming is responsible for 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, more than the entire transport sector combined. Every year, more than 8 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans, a large share coming from disposable food packaging. Fast food chains distribute billions of cups and straws each year. In the US alone, that means more than 150 million straws per day. While we bite into our sandwiches, the planet burns, entire forests disappear to plant soil, millions of tons of CO2 rise into the air to transport frozen meats across the world, and entire oceans suffocates beneath the plastic waste of cups and straws thrown away by the billions. Fast food does not feed the planet, it drains it, it pollutes it, it burns it. Every menu becomes another crack in the earth's crust, a silent volcano rumbling beneath our feet. And what if fast food did not only destroy our health, the animals, and the planet? What if in truth it was destroying something far more intimate, something like our humanity? Think about it. When you walk into a fast food restaurant, who actually greets you? Not a chef, not a server who knows your name, not a grandmother who poured her heart into the recipe. No, you are greeted by your touchscreen, an impersonal kiosk, and behind it, hurried employees, timed to the second, sometimes replaced by robots. This is what eating fast food really is, swallowing a product without human contact, without a story, without soul. A burger does not say hello. An XXL menu does not ask how you're doing. A box of nuggets never smiles when you walk out. Fast food does not feed you. It trains you. It trains you to consume quickly, without connection, without emotion. It teaches you to stop seeing others, to stop seeing the animal, to stop seeing the earth. In the end, eating fast food is learning how to stop being human. And meanwhile, what becomes of small restaurants? Those little bistros where you took the time to talk to the owner, where the waitress knew your habits, where the kitchen smelled of olive oil or melted butter. They close, one after another, replaced by franchises, fluorescent logos, standardized menus. In France, more than 30% of independent restaurants have disappeared in 20 years. In the US, fast food chains now represent more than 45% of the restaurant market, crushing traditional dining. Fast food does not just sell burgers, it sells a world without memory. A world where our mother's couscous, our grandparents' soup, the apple pies from our villages vanish in the noise of industrial fryers. Before you even step into the kitchen, a sound hits you. Dozens of timers scream at once. Every fryer, every oven, every grill has its own alarm, and those beeps never stop. They set the rhythm of employees' lives like the pulse of an artificial heart. A sound that burrows into your head, even into your sleep. Because here everything's timed. A burger must be ready in under 2 minutes. A full meal in under 3. Every movement is monitored, every second controlled. You are not a cook, you are a human machine calibrated to keep up with pace. A former employee recalls, every week we clean the fryers with chemical powder so toxic it had to be rinsed for a long time before restarting the machine. One busy evening, under pressure from the manager, they switch it back on too early. An entire batch of chicken soaked in contaminated oil, and instead of throwing it out, the manager ordered us to serve it anyway. In the same fast food restaurant, another incident left its mark. The iced tea dispenser. To clean it, the inside was sprayed with bleach, but a newly hired employee filled a container that was still soaked. She pours the tea straight into it, and customers drank, without knowing it, a beverage mixed with sodium oxychloride. This is what hides behind the walls, the pace, the fear, the endless beeping, the chemistry that slips into our plates. Behind every burger, there is not only a sacrificed animal, there is also a crushed human being, and sometimes a betrayed customer. So, what should we do? Should we wait for the government to act? No, the government and politicians will not lift a finger. They are complicit, bound to the lobbies. The truth is simple. Only the consumer still has the power to change anything, and we can no longer afford to build our selfish pleasure on animal torture, planetary destruction, and worker exploitation. We cannot accept that our plate is a battlefield. The solution exists. It is within reach. Cook as often as possible, with natural ingredients. There is nothing truer than that. And what if we all did it? What if tomorrow we said no to fast food? The earth will breathe. Animals will stop being numbers. Small restaurants will come back to life. Our bodies will regain strength, and our humanity will regain a face. The numbers prove it. Cutting meat consumption by 50% in wealthy countries will reduce agricultural greenhouse gas emissions by 30%. Moving from a fast food heavy diet to a balanced one can reduce the risk of premature mortality by 30%. Each home-cooked meal costs, on average, 30% less than fast food in the long run.
I've decided I'm going to be a millionaire when I'm 50.
The story of fast food reveals that it was born from a bad intention from the start. The intention to sell quickly, always more quickly, to get rich, to make millions, then billions, at the expense of everything else. And that intention has grown like a tumor. Today, fast food does not destroy only bodies. It destroys worlds, the world of animals, the world of the planet, the world of our cultures, the world of our souls. So no, it is not a matter of just once in a while. It is not an innocent, guilty pleasure. It is a planetary horror, a daily crime. Fast food must stop. Today, now. Its other path does not depend on governments or industry giants. It depends on you. And the moment you stop, the body responds. After a few days without fast food, blood pressure drops, the pancreas breathes, the liver starts shedding its fats. After a few weeks, cholesterol falls, inflammation calms down, the gut flora rebuilds. After a few months, the risk of diabetes, stroke, and heart attack drop dramatically. You are no longer a hostage of the industry. You take back control of your life. Every meal you stop swallowing under neon light is a scar that begins to close. Every day without fast food is a day when your body slowly repairs itself. And that is when the image of Rocket returns to me, the little red hand who trembled between boots, almost bald, broken by intensive farming. She found a garden, air, calm. She regained trust. She lived. What we saw in her eyes is exactly what happens inside us when we stop eating fast food. A creature we felt condemned finds light again. A damaged being regains dignity. Rocket's living proof that there is always a way out of hell. And you, what will you do? Will you count sheep to fall asleep of the bodies that fast food leaves behind?